Teaching number 165. Rest for a few moments, beloved people, leave your fatigue on me. My charity has called you to come before the Master. I only ask you to clean your mind, so that the essence of my word is received by your heart and my presence felt by your spirit. You have not understood many of the teachings that I have given you due to that lack of preparation in spirituality. For an indefinite time you come as infants, you should already be the disciples if you had analyzed my word and put my doctrine into practice. Understand that if you want to control your passions and reject the attraction that the world exerts on you, in my word you can find the light and strength to do so. Whoever settles and tries to calm his conscience just by listening to me, will soon return to his lethargy and lives exposed to falling into temptation. That is why my word comes encouraging and lifting those who fall along the way. As the star that announced at that time the coming of the Messiah, so at this time the spirit of Elijah announced my arrival with his light. My charity prepared this region of land for you to receive the revelation of the third era. Today the world ignores these teachings, but in due time, the good news will reach all of humanity. Due to the gift of intuition, the spiritual transcendence of this era will be sensed. There are many who manage to see in the great events of this time, the confirmation and fulfillment of the prophecies of past times. People, recognize how much grace you are enjoying, and there are still among these multitudes, those who doubt my communication and attribute my word to the spokesman. What can they give you if they are as ignorant as you and you saw them come out of your ranks? There are those who are because of their rudeness, are flesh and once again flesh, sinners like you, but when my light illuminates them, when my ray inspires them, they are transformed by a miracle of my love and my power. You are still the city that sleeps, whose inhabitants surrender to their rest and do not listen if someone groans, if someone needs help, shelter, balm or bread. Now you forget humanity to think only of yourselves, and if you have forgotten men, who are visible to your eyes and whose afflictions you can feel, how much more will you have forgotten those who meet in spirit and are dragging a painful chain of bitterness? Know that your mission is to watch over, pray and intercede for all your brothers, both present and absent, distant or close, visible and invisible. In this era I am making you pass through a crucible so that when you come out of it, you can be the flavor of the world, the light that illuminates the darkness of the paths. My voice full of majesty calls humanity to awaken it from its lethargy, so that all of you come to be part of my beloved people. I am entrusting to you the key that unlocks the door behind which are many of the revelations you want to know. Take this key and learn to open the door of the kingdom so that you know everything that you believed was an unfathomable arcanum. You still need to understand many of the revelations that are destined to be part of your knowledge, and men have assumed that their knowledge belongs only to God. When someone comes to express his desire to interpret them or tries to penetrate them, he is instantly called a blasphemer or judged reckless. What would the men of the first ages have said if they had been told that one day humanity would come to know all that you know, both in regards to science and spiritual revelations? Whoever had announced such events would have been called a blasphemer or denied the use of reason. Even at this time it will happen that, when the communication of spirit to spirit is announced, the establishment of peace on the entire surface of the earth and the knowledge of the beyond, the materialistic world will rise up energetically denying the possibility to achieve such goals and will harshly judge those who dare to announce such events. If humanity had studied and analyzed the words and announcements given by the prophets of past times, they would have found in them much of what you are now seeing come true, of what humanity is now experiencing. The perceptions that you have reached of the spiritual was foretold to you, as well as everything that your science has discovered. Today I can assure you that in the future communication through thought will reach great development, and by this means many barriers that today separate peoples and worlds will disappear. If you learn to communicate in thought with your Father, if you manage to achieve communication from spirit to spirit, what difficulty can you have in communicating with your visible and invisible brothers, present or absent, near or distant? In my doctrine you are learning this form of spiritual communication that I have come to teach you, and for you to exercise daily in it, I have advised you to keep silent, to close your lips and let your spirit speak. I want you to be my good and humble disciples, those who do not seek appointments or honors within the congregation, but whose ideal is only to achieve improvement through virtue and follow my teachings so that your life is an example. Of what use can degrees, titles or names be to you if you do not have the merits to possess them. Do not make or keep anything that is false. I grant the degrees I know when you have taken a firm step on the road. Always feel like children even if deep down you are already teachers. The love I have for you is great, and this love, which you have already felt in your heart, comes to wake you up so that you rise up to fulfill the Father's mandate. Through humble men I give you my word, and it, like a fine chisel, polishes and models your spirit. The ideal of purity that my law has always inspired men, I want you to preserve, so that it helps you sustain yourselves in the fight, until you form a foundation of fraternity and spirituality in the world. Each one of you understands me according to the degree of spiritual advancement in which you are, that is why I manifest myself in different ways so that everyone receives my light and knows how to analyze my teachings. Do not stop in your path of spiritual evolution, keep in mind that in your progress I manifest myself more and more, and in each step you take, you receive me with increased greatness. If those who transmit my word faint in the fight, I will know how to communicate with my people, because truly I tell you, I do not want you to miss this teaching. Recognize that by listening to me you have found the strength so that it is your faith that helps you overcome the obstacles that appear on the path of your life. I want to prepare you to leave you as witnesses of my manifestation and so that you serve as an example to your brothers, giving testimony with your works of the teaching that you have received. Learn and practice, teach feeling what you do and say, confirm my doctrine with your works. I do not want prevaricators among my disciples. Think what would happen to humanity and to you if this work, started with so much love and patience, collapsed due to a lack of morality, virtue and truth in your life. Behold how ages of purification have passed over humanity and there is still no regeneration in it. See how there are men and peoples who have struggled to make peace, and it has not arrived, rather, the bloody wave continues to spread. It is because there is no love or sincerity in men. They have not known how to love one another, that is why I have been bringing my peace and my word, which teaches minds to unite and men to love each other. For now, you who hear me in these humble places, unite, love each other as farmers of the same countryside, have the same ideal, and may that ideal be the salvation of humanity. Seek the essence of my work, and stop superfluous deliberations. Begin by cleaning yourselves of stains, and thus you will not stain what is diaphanous and pure, thus you will stimulate your brothers to correct their imperfections. Love one another as Jesus taught you. Put away your selfishness, dispense with your personality. You cannot leave this world without first having finished your work of peace and love, that will be the testimony you give about me and the way to settle an account you have with me. I tell you all this through the humble, the last, those who, finding themselves forgotten by men on the path of life, heard the voice of the Master and rose up to fight to follow him, but this footprint that I am marking with my word is the same one that I traced for you in the second era and the same one that I bequeathed to you through Moses in the first era. Look for me beyond forms, and although you may find me symbolized in everything created, look for me in spirit, let the eyes of your spirit contemplate my presence. Materialism is what does not let men see the path they walk on. Sin, fanaticism, vanities, form the thick veil that prevents them from contemplating their Father. If this were not so, they would think about the transitory nature of this life and the value of spiritual life, they would sense that world of perfection that lies beyond death. If men were humble in spirit and heart, they would have peace with them, because peace is in humility, not in false greatness, nor in vain splendor, but humanity is divided into classes, and while some have all the comforts, others succumb to misery, that is why there is no peace. But all those great things will be destroyed under my justice, and men will recognize each other as brothers, sons of the same Father. It has been the charity of your Lord, which has entrusted you with the golden wheat so that with your work you may multiply it on earth. It is the seed of a work that I began a long time ago in the spirit of man, which will give him true peace. Blessed are you who have listened to my word at this time, because in it you will find the right path, but you must not only hear it, but also analyze it, interpret it correctly, so that when you teach it to your brothers, you will not sow confusion in their hearts. Your spirit must wait for its matter to be purified and regenerated, so that it can rise to fulfill its mission. Then you will be spirit and matter, a single being, a docile and obedient instrument, through which the gifts that the Father has granted you will be manifested. Do not imitate those who, without having understood or analyzed my doctrine of spirituality, without having sufficient preparation and development, go along the roads calling themselves servants, without realizing that the seed they cultivate is not exactly mine. Remember that those 12 disciples of the second era needed time to pass so that they came to understand their master's teaching. Many were the lessons they received, many tests to which they were subjected. At every step they were questioned by me, and each one of their weaknesses or imperfections were touched and corrected through my word, so that clarity and truth penetrated them, and yet they had to prepare themselves to make my doctrine known. What shall I not do with you, new disciples, who live in a much more materialistic time than that was? Understand now that I have been extensive in teaching you, and understand why I test you at every step. While I said to Andrew, Simon and John when they saw me for the first time, "Follow me," and they followed me, I have had to talk to you a lot during this time so that at last faith finds its way into your heart. I want you to find in those apostles the example that strengthens you in your journey, and that you understand that when they went out to the roads to preach with my word, peace and love had already penetrated their hearts and impurity cleansed from them. There was not one who sowed seed that was not mine, nor who performed an act with which his brothers could be confused. It is that they, in turn and like the fruits, waited to mature in the tree of life to be able to offer themselves with purity to the avidity of hearts hungry to know the truth. Instead, you have now risen up pretending to be teachers, when you have not yet been able to learn my first lesson. You want to go to save your brothers, when you are still in danger of falling, and you are talking about cleanliness, purity, spirituality, when you have not yet made your vices disappear. This is the reason why many of you return to me, crying and complaining that you have been called impostors, because you could not heal a sick person, because you failed to convince an unbeliever, or because you were caught executing practices inappropriate for my work. Then some devote themselves to studying my doctrine and improving their lives so as not to fail again, while others continue in their impurity of sowing confusion, and finally others, discouraged by the setbacks they have suffered, move away from the path, denying the truth of my work. I have wanted to take you step by step, teaching your spirit page by page my lessons of love, because there is no longer path than this of the evolution of the spirit. Truly I tell you, you cannot find anything on earth that is more sacred to you than one of your fellow men. This doctrine comes to give you the knowledge of what it is and what it should mean for you: the spirit, the conscience, the feelings, the faith. When one of you comes to know these teachings, he feels that deep respect and love emanates from his heart towards his brothers, because in each one of them he can see something of the presence of God. He sees a son of the Supreme Being, in each one of his fellow men, and inside each one of the men he contemplates the temple of the Lord. He who comes to understand and considers all this knowledge to be true, would he dare to profane that temple, or would he become capable of offending that brother? That is the lesson that I want you to understand, because when this happens, you will be only one step away from beginning to practice the supreme commandment that tells you, love one another. How can you call yourselves spiritualists, while you do not know what a spirit is and what it means and its worth before God? Meditate on everything I have told you, so that your envelope fused in a single will with your spirit, let it manifest itself and fulfill its mission. You will see then that each one of your gifts is a light and a force before which the hardest necks and the hardest hearts will bow, and when they receive a test of true spirituality they will exclaim with emotion, if these are practicing the doctrine of Jesus, these are preaching the truth. Take this hour as your communion with the Father. Converse spiritually with me. I listen to you, O people. Deposit in me all the sorrows that you are collecting throughout the world, wash with your tears the stains of your spirit. You will see how crying and praying makes your heart feel lighter. Then I will pour out my grace on you with which I will make you feel strong. If you call yourselves Trinitarians because you have analyzed my teachings and bear witness to them with your works, light, strength and peace cannot be lacking in you. I have placed in you the divine seal that makes you heirs of the wisdom that is kept in the book of my divinity, and whoever carries that light cannot fall. The Father of all times is the one who is now speaking to you, the same one who with Moses revealed the law to you, in Christ made you hear the voice of the word, and the one who now sends you Elijah in spirit so that he may come to prepare men, because in this time they will learn to communicate with the Holy Spirit who is myself. Whoever manages to communicate with me will find that I am the Father himself and that the one whom you call the Son is the word of love of the divinity. The Trinity of God does not mean diversity of spirits, but of attributes or powers. Law, love and wisdom, these are the three phases with which I have shown myself to man so that he reaches full firmness on his path of evolution and a complete knowledge of his Creator. These three phases are different from each other, but they all proceed from a single principle and together they are absolute perfection. On several occasions I have said to you, why do you insist on wanting to look at three divine beings where you can only find one? A single voice has spoken to you at all times, a single divine spirit has appeared before you. That unique, eternal voice, which my law has manifested to you through various expressions, is the one you have engraved in your conscience, and you should keep its essence in your heart. But instead of loving me in spirit and in truth as it has been taught by my doctrine, you love me through your materialism, because you cannot conceive your Creator in another way. When I engraved my law on a stone, who could doubt that those tablets were sacred if they contained the divine commandments? However, I removed those stones from the sight of man, leaving them only the knowledge of my law. Christ was born and died in poverty, purity and perfection, and you would have wanted him to remain eternally on earth. For this reason you have wanted to perpetuate him in images made by the hand of man. You must understand that his human form disappeared to leave only the spirit of man, the purest essence of his word and his works, which were the perfect expression of divine love. Now that I come to manifest myself in spirit and have communicated through the understandings prepared by me, what is it that you can materialize from my third manifestation? Do you hope to deify objects, places, or people? No, you must only preserve from this time of my spiritual communication, the infinite light that I have shed on you, the light of eternal wisdom. If you seek love and wisdom in the law of the first era, you will find them. If in the love of Jesus you seek law and wisdom, you would find them, and if in the wisdom that my Spirit has poured out in this third era on all beings, you tried to find the law and love, deep down you will be able to find them. See how all the virtues and divine powers form a single essence, and this is God. Analyze the lesson I have given you, in it the love I have for humanity is manifested. With my teaching I come to shape your heart using humble men. The disciples of spiritualism will preserve my doctrine in all its purity, because it will be what consolidates peace and brotherhood among humanity. Religious symbols will disappear, because it is necessary for man not to limit me, so that his work may be worthy of the Father. Listening to me without material representation, you have formed a new character in yourselves, your mind has been awakened and your morality has been strengthened. I want for tomorrow, men and women of conviction, disciples who preach by example, not prevaricators, because your fall would be very painful for lack of morality and truth, for lack of peace and courage. See how humanity that through the ages has passed through the crucible that purifies and the fiery tests that redeem, still cannot found its peace. The bloody footprint continues, because men have forgotten my word. There is no sincerity, trust, charity, or love. And here I am, with my new message of unification and peace, with my humble word that will perform after a great battle, the miracle of uniting the minds and hearts of men. And will there still be those who ask why I have come? Also in this time many were called and few were chosen, but I have no privileges. Because it is man who dignifies himself before his Lord and becomes worthy of his grace. I have given my teaching to everyone in the same way, I have taught everyone to walk this path and to inhabit the valley of tears. Understand me, not only you will have to live under this law but the entire world, but it will be my disciples scattered throughout the world, who will implement it with their morality and their examples. Comply from now on and do not let time pass over the Spirit without taking advantage of it, because the moment of regrets could come. That is the reason why I am making use of the humble, of those who, finding themselves lost along the paths of life, heard the saving voice of the Lord and rose ready to follow him. That is you, the last ones, because you are serving me in the third era. I send you my peace, but truly I tell you, as long as there are men who have everything they need and forget about those who die of hunger, there will be no peace on earth. Peace is not in human greatness, nor in riches. It is in goodwill, in loving each other, in serving and respecting one another. Oh, if the world understood these lessons, hatred would disappear and love would blossom in the human heart. Only my love and my justice can now protect those who hunger and thirst for them. Only I know how to receive in my perfect justice those who threaten their own existence. If they knew that the loneliness of the spirit is more tremendous than the loneliness of this world, they would wait patiently and with fortitude until the last day of their existence. I have given you my caress in this word, testify of my truth with your works. Love one another. My peace be with you.